व्हिडिओ चालू.
पण एनिवे नाही दिसणार, हे दिसेल पण ना का नाही?
नाही नाही काही इशू नाही, व्हिडिओ मध्ये काही इशू नाही.
Rupa madam, shall we start?
स्वधर्म क्या है हम लोगों का?
Exactly at 6 o'clock we should start.
बताइए.
ईश्वर को प्राप्त करना,
बस भगवान का भजन करना.
Madam, shall we start? Lopa madam.
ये महाराज जी.
ये सब जय श्री कृष्ण ही.
We start exactly at 6 o'clock.
धर्मम भजस्व सततम त्यजलोक धर्मा.
Yes ma'am, it's 6.
लोग धर्म का त्याग कर. सेवा
It is 6
कथा
o'clock?
रसमोद.
Yes ma'am, it is 6.
Okay, then start.
बंदरिया गुरुदेव स्वरूप पूज्य राजेंद्र दास जी महाराज जब आए तब उन्होंने कहा सेवा कथा.
Ma'am, your audio. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, good evening, everyone. I am Shubham, Senior Secretary of Dr. Manu.V.L.Kothari, Chair and Division of Medical Humanities, and I extend a warm welcome to all present here. CGS Medical College and KM Hospital, the Dr.M.V.L.K. Chair and Division of Medical Humanities, in collaboration with Gosumec Alumni Association, we are here to celebrate our 10th Foundation Day of Dr. Manu.V.L.Kothari, Chair and Division of Medical Humanities. Dr. Manu Kothari was a learned scholar, a committed academician, a most beloved teacher, a medical philosopher, and an author of many books and national and international publications on topics like cancer, death, medical philosophy, and others. He was highly respected among students, teachers, and the entire medical fraternity, both in India and abroad. He was a friend, philosopher, and guide for everyone, including every category of staff, teaching and non-teaching, and was loved by his students. On the passing of Dr. Manu Kothari on October 16, 2014, members of medical fraternity felt that there was a need to emphasize humanity in medical sciences. They desired to institute a chair of medical philosophy in the name of Dr. Manu.V.L.Kothari as the best way to preserve Sir's philosophy of life. Dr. Kothari has left behind countless students who will forever treasure his thoughts and behavior regarding medical humanity, their experiences, and the memory of his association. Therefore, Dr. Kothari Chair of Medical Humanities was instituted at St. Jude's Medical College on January 23, 2016. To further this journey, we will now visit the essence of this chair and the enduring legacy of the man who inspired it all. We present the memories of Dr. Manu sir through a short video clip.
I was delighted to find that the word doctor comes from Dig is Disha. Dig Darshak is the one who shows the path. So Dig Darshak becomes director, becomes doctor. Therefore the word doctor is Sanskrit. Then you go further. The word nurse comes from Sneha. Sneha, nourishment, nurture, nurse. Therefore the very profession of nursing is rooted in love. The very profession of medicine, let me tell you, should be rooted in love. I was at the instance of Swami Ranganathananji, we were in Calcutta. and we had a big meeting on doctor-patient relationship. And the question came, why should I love my patient? Why should I love my patient? Why? And then I was reminded of Chandogya Upanishad, which said, Tat Tvam Asi, the patient is you suffering. And therefore, if you love yourself, the first thing that you must do is to love your patient. And I happened to be in Abu. There were 1,500 homeopaths, and we had to discuss doctor-patient relationship. I happened to be the last speaker. There was very little time left. So I was inspired to sing, which I shall sing before you, which carries the essence of doctor-patient relationship, which we have to bear in mind. I have Dr. Parikh here, and he bears me out that Dr. Ambrose Pare, in the 16th century, he gave a great quotation, I dressed the wound, God healed the wound. I dressed the wound, God healed the wound. So God there. Until today, on wound healing, we know nothing except the fact that God heals the wound. So allow me to sing for you, and I'm sure you can join. Mariz means a patient. मरीज की मुस्कुराहटों पे हो निसार, मरीज का दर्द मिल सके तो ले उधार, मरीज के वास्ते हो तेरे दिल में प्यार, डॉक्टर इसी का नाम है. We doctors are expected to be well dressed, but never too well dressed, because it intimidates the patient. There is a conversation in New England Journal of Medicine where a patient tells the doctor, Doctor, I am afraid of you because you are too well dressed for me. So we are supposed to be voluntarily poor. माना डॉक्टर देखने में फकीर है, फिर भी यारो दिल के वो अमीर है. माना डॉक्टर देखने में फकीर है, फिर भी यारो दिल के वो अमीर है. मिटे मरीज के लिए वो जिंदगी, करे मरीज के लिए वो बंदगी. किसी को हो न हो हमें है एतबार, डॉक्टर इसी का नाम है. A patient comes to us not by walking, not in car, not on cycle, but on a path of faith. A patient comes faith. Faith. रिश्ता है मरीज के एतबार का, जिंदा है तबीब से नाम प्यार का. You know one thing I tell you, somebody in distress, you look at the person as your own, and if love is dripping from your eyes, much of the patient's illness is likely to be mitigated. We must look at the patient. It's I who am suffering. It's I. It's incidentally. In fact, in Quran it is said that before a doctor goes to a patient, he must thank the God that but for your mathematics, I could be there and the patient could be here. Please remember.
Okay, thank you so much. So now with your permission, we'll proceed to the evening's highlight, our Foundation Day Oration. I now hand over the session to Dr. Padmaja ma'am to introduce our esteemed speaker, Dr. NILIMA KSHIRSAGAR ma'am.
Good evening, all. It's my great pleasure and honor to introduce our erstwhile Dean, Director, and one of the most accomplished teachers, Dr. NILIMA KSHIRSAGAR madam. She has actually, I was wondering what all to cut from her large CV and list of awards and attachments and contributions to medicine. So I think the most prestigious among all these would be the Viceroy Award that she has acquired. And she has numerous national, international, university, college awards, gold medals, orations, such as Nathaniel Quitt Distinguished Service and Excellence in Achievement Award from American College of Clinical Pharmacology, BC Roy Award, as I said, and Basvik Award for Industrial Research and Mayor of Mumbai Award.
Padmaja, we cannot hear you. Shubham? Padmaja madam is not audible.
Padmaja madam, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Now we can hear you.
Okay, I'm very sorry. Contributions to education are, she has started MSc, PhD, pharmaceutical medicine, DM in clinical pharmacology, Foundation for Achievement of International Medical Education and Research, Framer USA Center in Mumbai. She has contributed to MCI Vision Document of 2015. She has more than 280 papers, and her expertise lies in rational use of medicine, clinical trials, pharmacovigilance, phytopharmaceuticals, infectious diseases, tropical diseases, and regulatory science and education. I was just asking Madam what her hobbies were, and she had every possible hobby, including sports, which she was describing. And she said that I just now don't have time for that. I have too many things yet to do in medicine. So what an enthusiasm for and passion for medicine, really most admirable. So I hand over the mic to Dr. KSHIRSAGAR madam now to conduct her oration.
Thank you very much. Let me start sharing slides. Slide sharing.
This. Share.
We have to get that full screen. Are my slides visible?
Yes, madam.
Yes.
And are they full screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Am I audible clearly?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you very much. And I greatly appreciate the introduction and especially a mention about my hobbies, which reminds me of my own childhood and school and college days. Thank you for that gentle introduction. It's a great privilege for me to be invited to give this 10th Foundation Day Oration. And it's the greatest privilege, especially because it is in the centenary year of our beloved GS Medical College and KEM Hospital. It's a great privilege to deliver it under the auspices of MLK Chair and the Division of Humanities.
Next.
Slides not moving. Okay.
Yeah, it's not.
So just a word about Manu.V.L.Kothari sir, as many of us will call him. Empathy and communication skills. We just heard many of his great attributes. But this is something which is so relevant for my today's presentation. He had the art of being on the same plane as a humble staff member or a student or an exalted academician, just to quote Dr. S.K. Pandya. And this is what we will see as we move along in my talk, which is on intersection of humanities and evidence-based drug development. Dr. Kothari would have loved to debate on this topic. Is humanities relevant to evidence-based drug development? And is the art of humanities shaping the science of drug development? He introduced to Janus, the Roman god, with two faces, looking at the past and looking forward to the future. And he said, as much as you look in the past, that much you can see the future. So my talk is going to therefore delve into the past, into the present, which is going to be a lot of 20th century and a bit of the first decade of this century, and the future challenges and perspective, and what we can do about it. So just two slides on what is drug development. Well, we all know this, lengthy, complex, multi-stage. It involves drug discovery, clinical testing, pre and post-marketing, all this to improve safety and effectiveness and efficacy, and to get the regulatory approval by the government bodies. And this all to create safe and effective treatment for diseases. What is humanities? That's a bit more complex though. It's a diverse group of academic disciplines like literature, philosophy, art, music, history, languages, and it's supposed to foster critical thinking, creativity, and empathy. Explore the human experience relating to culture, history, and values. Its methods are a bit different. They're interpretive and speculative, quite distinct from the methods of sciences. When we look at the intersection of humanities and drug development of the past, we see that drug development was a mix of empirical trial and error and serendipity mixed together. The philosophical and cultural beliefs about health and illness very much affected the drug development. And then as the ancient Greek moved on from empirical to rational thinking, so did the medicine development. It became scientific, objective, and a reductionist biological model. We can't talk of drug development and humanities without talking about pharma industry. Let's see in the past. The pharma industries developed really in the 19th century. It came out of a scientific revolution of the 17th century and the industrial revolution of the late 18th century. And it greatly affected the drug development and access, as we know. But it's interesting that while we know a lot about Banting and Best and colleagues who isolated insulin, it was with collaboration with scientists from Eli Lilly that led to purification and industrial produce as an effective medicine. We know quite a lot about Alexander Fleming and penicillin, but it was the government-supported international collaboration with Pfizer, Merck, and Squibb that led to the mass production, saving lives. What about the ethical conflict? George Merck addressed this question. He said that the conflict about making money from selling healthcare products, he said that medicines are for people and not really for profits. Well, I wish everybody remembered that today. So this was the past somewhat. What about the drug development today? As we know, it's dependent on the synthetic medicine, the purified plant extract-derived chemicals, the target-based design, the advanced technologies of genomics and proteomics, biotechnology, and the high-throughput screening. The humanities of the past was, ancient Greek education, the Renaissance, and the 19th century actually had a debate over the role of humanities. While some argued that humanities offered critical thinking, others viewed them as detached from practical problem solving. They thought it was knowledge for knowledge's sake. As we see today, humanities and drug development as an intersection, the traditional, the indigenous knowledge, the lifestyle, the social and cultural factors, the public perception, this all affected drug development. And the humanities provided an ethical compass and a social context. And then there was this public and professional outcry, which leads to regulations on ethical consideration and response to adverse event. However, the research focus was quite a lot affected by the economic and market forces, profitability, and public policy interventions. Let me give you some stories on this science and ethical compass. Early science traditional knowledge. We all know the story of Rovalfia serpentina, described in ancient Indian literature, and R.J. Vakil, who published the antihypertensive studies in Mumbai, and as he famously said, in willing patients. However, it was the Swiss chemist who isolated rezapine. But here's the social context. In spite of the rezapine being isolated, today a medicinal chemist whom I know, he uses for his hypertension Muktavati, which is a combination of several plant extracts, including the Rovalfia serpentina. And then we had this epileptic patient or patient with epilepsy. He was on phenytoin and he also started Shankapushpi for memory enhancement, and that led to interaction and loss of his seizure control. In our institution, GS Medical College and KEM Hospital, we had several experts working on medicinal products and Ayurvedic products. My friend, Dr. Sharaneri Dhanukar, she was working on Tinospora cardiofolia and its immunomodulatory action, while Dr. Ashok Vaidya was working on Nicanthus as an anti-malarial. While Sharaneri showed the immunomodulatory activity, what happened during COVID time? As an immunomodulator, it got used extensively without even a physician advice. Ayush Ministry claimed that it is absolutely safe, as shown in Ayurveda, but physicians noted the liver injury and they noted that it's not safe for all, especially those who had some existing autoimmune disease were more susceptible to liver injury. Geopolitics, traditional medicine is interlinked to malaria development. It was the Vietnam War in the 60s, which saw their army soldiers dying of chloroquine-resistant malaria. And the Vietnam government approached Mao Zedong, and his reply was, "Your problem is our problem." And that's how the malaria drug research program in China started. America also started the malaria program, and they came up with synthetic methylquine. So the Chinese scientists studied a large number of plants, and they used traditional methods of cold extraction, and they showed 100% efficacy with Artemisia annua plant extracts in animal models and in clinical trials. As one can imagine, the Americans didn't like it very much, and they questioned the safety, and they claimed that this had CNS toxicity. So ultimately, it was left for the Swiss Novartis company to take up the development. We had around that time resurgence of malaria in Mumbai. And as one can imagine, the politicians blamed migrant population and imported malaria. We blamed the municipal corporation because of the increase in mosquito breeding sites and the water tanks at construction site and the high-rise building making inspection difficult. But there was this question about lack of efficacy of recommended treatment, inappropriate, inadequate treatment, and resistance to drugs. And that's where we came into carrying out a co-artemether, the artemisinin product and lumefantrine clinical trial. This was a multi-centric, multi-country clinical trial, and we showed that it is better than the comparator chloroquine. The studies were carried out in KEM and Kasturba Hospital. So this is our small contribution to UU2 Nobel Prize for artemisinin for malaria. Of course, India didn't lag behind. We came up with the synthetic artirolen as the natural resource was considered in short supply. The social context of drug development becomes very obvious when we are talking of development for public health. So we were studying in Kurjadi and Selukate village drugs used for filariasis, and that's what we understood the villagers' perception. They had great fear of groin and scrotal pain after antifilarial drug, and it required a lot of counseling for them to understand that it all meant actually efficacy of the drug. We also had in interaction with village patients when we were in Bihar studying visceral leishmaniasis or Kala Azar, the disease of poor, life-threatening disease. When we were studying our drugs there, and we asked the villager patient, we gave them all the details as informed consent. And what was his response? मैं घर पे पूछ के आता हूँ. I will ask my family members and then only give my consent. Some people were a bit alarmed by that, but then we thought that this is the appropriate way of having an informed consent procedure. I had the big fortune of working with Dr. B.K. Bachawat, Department of Biochemistry, Delhi University, Professor Gregoriades from London, and Dr. S.K. Pandya, our own neurosurgeon, the late Dr. S.K. Pandya. We had developed this liposomal amphotericin at our own institution, carried out clinical trials even in patient whom the drug was given and in Patna. It took long time, as you can see, for the technology transfer and marketing finally of this drug. And this is what it looked like. And this help was provided free of cost to our patients in KEM. And we had this patient who responded to it and was getting, he was suffering from the post-Kala Azar dermal leishmaniasis, as you can see. It was effective in COVID-19, the deadly mucormycosis, which has a mortality of 37%. Importantly, this helped access to this product, and as we can say, in the resource-poor countries. Government of India and in the industry initiative around that time for access in the 70s was the process patent by the Government of India, which helped India to produce drugs at a considerably lower cost. And Cipla developed the HIV/AIDS drugs gave it to Africa at a very low cost, challenging the mighty West industry, and this provided access of this much needed drugs. Now, 21st century, our current decades and future. The drug development areas of innovation, as we too well know, is about artificial intelligence, personalized medicine, medicine for rare and orphan diseases, biotechnology, cell therapy, gene therapy, drug delivery system, and using integrated and adaptive clinical trials. But we have challenges, both in terms of the clinical trial design implementation, also for scientific and technical implementation of cell therapies, and not to mention the financial and regulatory challenges. Of course, we have opportunities for overcome these challenges by using technologies, digital twin, integrated, and partnerships. Humanities. By this time, the humanities is now called as medical humanities, which was the emerging discipline of humanities in the 20th century. And it is expected to provide us with the ethics and social context, empathy and communication, a holistic and patient-centered approach. Drug development to be patient-centered, which should inform the research priorities, inform the drug clinical trial design, and even have patient-reported outcomes, PROs. But that too has challenges. We know too well the dehumanization of healthcare. There are ethical dilemmas of the new technologies, global health disparities, communication gaps, and data privacy and trust. I'll give some illustrative examples on these various areas. Clinical trial data has a lot of disparity. If you look at the demographics of participants of clinical trial, we'll see that more than half of these are white. Asian, Black, American, Indian make a small proportion of it. There's a lot of ethnic variation, and we all know about the genetic variation. Partly it is genetic, whatever. Obesity drug like tirzepatide. Systematic review and meta-analysis showed that Asians, they have better weight reduction and more GI side effect, while non-Asian, the blood sugar reduction is better, and they have more nutritional and metabolic disorders. There are some social contexts which don't come onto the chat GPT, mind you. There are population variations which are not on chat GPT, but which nevertheless affect beneficial and harmful effects of drugs. In India, a hypertensive patient in the family, if he is on diuretic or on antihypertensive drug, an enthusiastic family will have low salt diet or no salt diet with everybody, leading to hyponatremia and harm. And I must confess, our family was no exception to that. There are healthcare disparities. So there is inadequate healthcare facilities locally. As a result, in Bihar, miltefosine drug with ocular adverse effect, the drug didn't stop was not stopped because of inadequate healthcare facility, and this sometimes led to irreversible damage. There is also disparity in the real life data. Take example of COVID vaccine. Somebody has analyzed the data on causality assessment of serious AEFI cases as compiled by the National AEFI Committee. And we already know from the Pharmacovigilance Program of India that the spontaneous reporting and adverse reaction is less than half of whatever is considered as the gold standard. There is this recent paper in the BMJ, which is major study, which compares myocarditis risk in children after vaccination. And you see here, this UK study is from the whole population linked electronic health records. That unfortunately we still lack. So there is this bias in data. So if AI models are trained on such limited non-diverse data sets, with this insufficient data, not representative of the variation in population that is destined to use it, the resultant drugs may not be relevant to global population and in fact would worsen health inequalities. As we know, marketing approval is given with surrogate marker data. Just a recent example, drug voxelotor for sickle cell disease. It was approved on the basis of change in hemoglobin, but it was withdrawn from the market for failure to achieve reduction in the sickle cell crisis. This is all getting complicated because of the issues of data privacy. So while we want to use patient data for AI and personalized medicine, there are questions about privacy and data ownership. While there are new technologies promising effective treatment, the cost is a critical challenge. So here was our patient from the mango orchards of Ratnagiri, and he was on warfarin. Unfortunately, at that time, we didn't have pharmacogenetic testing yet available to our patient. If it had predicted if we had used pharmacogenetic testing for predicting the warfarin dose, it would have avoided the overdose and the underdose that he suffered, poor man. Cell and genetic therapies offer transformative potential for rare diseases. There are, of course, safety concerns. A recent new safety warning on the Duchenne muscular dystrophy drug reports fatal liver injury. The patient access is significantly hampered because of the exorbitant upfront cost, the complex reimbursement models. Part of it is because of the small market size. So, of course, there are opportunities of trying to look at all these aspects. So, innovation should be patient-centered. There should be ethical guidance and policy. We need to have enhanced physician and researcher empathy, exactly what Dr. Kothari emphasized. We should be addressing neglected diseases, and there should be improved interdisciplinary collaboration. The government of India has come out with new drugs and clinical trials rules in 2019, and there are amendments and updates. We have the National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority, which controls at least the essential medicines cost. In the USA, there are some key legislations and regulatory developments. One of it is to reduce, of course, animal testing. The other one is for drug pricing control measures, particularly for Medicare. And then there is this Omnibus Reform Act, which looks at the diversity action regarding race, gender, ethnicity, and socioeconomic status of participants. Very good. But that is applicable to USA and still not probably the global context. There's some more interesting key legislations and developments in the USA. There's a right to try for individualized treatment, a right to try, which allows terminally ill patients to access certain unapproved experimental drugs. US FDA is also looking at artificial intelligence in drug development. And they are stating, incorporating real-world evidence and patient perspective into the development process itself rather than post-marketing. And this, they feel, it will improve the efficacy and bring the needed innovation to the market faster. So now if we have this question, is humanities relevant to evidence-based drug development? I'm sure you will all agree with me that it is more than what we can imagine. Is the art of humanities shaping the science of drug development? It is, and it should definitely. But what can we do about it? You know, this 2008 Supreme Court of India landmark judgment on communicating potential benefits and risks. Mind you, this was for patient treatment and not for drug development. While it said that you should allow the patient to make balanced judgment and no need to explain the remote or theoretical links, the important thing is that it said that it should be accepted, whatever you say, as being normal and proper by a body of medical men who are skilled and experienced in the field. So again, the ball is in the medical profession's hand or land or court. So what should we do as health professionals? We should have training to be empathetic. We should be culturally aware and skilled in communication. So at KEM, with our Dean, Dr. Sangeeta Rawat, our former student, Swati Piramal, and the student, there's a Gandhi Medical Fellowship which has been started, which provides exposure to rural areas and training into leadership. But what's also important that we should be contributing to scientific research and by integrating the subjective experience with the objective data. So how can we do that? So we need more researcher-physician interaction. Should have a physician to be participating as being principal investigator in clinical trials and contribute to the real-world data and contribute to the global database so that we can contribute to drug development and humanities as relevant to population of our country. You know, when I was looking at ChatGPT, I found there was no mention whatsoever about humanities in Indian system of knowledge, Ayurveda. So I spoke to Ashwin Rao, Ayurvedic physician, and he said it's so much there. In Ayurveda, we have fostering collective wisdom, wider human dimension, environmental awareness, multidisciplinary approach, and patient-centric care. So maybe the way is to look deeper into Ayurveda to get answers for our future problems. I would like to deeply acknowledge my teachers and colleagues, Dr. UK Sheth, Dr. Ashok Vaidya, Dr. KG Nair, Dr. GB Podolkar, my friend Dr. Robin Perner, Dr. Fatke, my sister, Supe, Lopa Mehta, Pravina, and Sangeeta, who have been all teachers or colleagues. And of course, the next generation or the current, now I have to say the current generation of students and the future generation, colleagues at the GSMC&KEMH and also at ICMR. And you can see some of them here. I always like to think about our former revered president, late APJ Abdul Kalam. He talks of 5 capabilities in learning process. He says disciplinary mind, mastery over discipline. He says it should be possible in 10 years. And he says synthesizing mind, you should be able to integrate ideas from different disciplines. Yeah. And not disciplines as part of medicine, but including humanities. A creative mind, capacity to uncover and create solutions, a step ahead of computer. But all this is not of any use if you don't have a respectful mind, which is mature mind with appreciation of differences between human, an ethical mind, that is ability to work with integrity beyond self-interest, which is what again our dear teacher, Dr.M.V.L.Kothari always desired. I thank you all for your attention and look forward to your feedback later on. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam, KSHIRSAGAR Madam, for this very enlightening and informative talk on humanities and drug development, new challenges and perspective. As we know, as science is advancing, with especially with newer therapeutic modalities, drug development, pharma industry, and newer technologies, as you mentioned, there is AI into medicine now, and along with that, biotechnology, gene therapy. I feel ethical issues also increase exponentially, and it is very, and there comes the role of bioethical principles and medical humanities. And it is very important that we do not forget them. And thank you, Madam, for letting us know about various ethical dilemmas, ethical issues that come up with it. And also, it was interesting to know about past stories which you told, various anecdotes from your vast experience, Madam. And it was really nice to know all that. And also about present and future perspectives about drug development. And so all of us, and especially the new current generation of students who are now will go into medicine and all this, especially with newer modalities and AI, they will experience it more and more. So it was a really wonderful learning experience, and we thank you, Madam, for accepting our invite as well as being here with us and guiding us. And as a token of our appreciation and gratitude, we would like to, Madam, you are mute. You want to say something?
Can you hear me now? Am I audible? I would like to thank all the participants for this. Dr. Yevlekar, I could see Dr. Nitya Gopte and Dr. Sudeep and so many others. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Madam. And as a token of our gratitude, and because this is online, we would like to present this plaque currently online, Madam, here for this oration. Thank you once again. And I thank our Dean, Dr. Sangeeta Rawat, Madam, Academic Dean, Dr. Harish Pathak, for supporting our activities always. Gosumec Alumni Association for being there with us. I thank chairperson of our chair, Dr. Avinash Supe sir, Dr. Lopa Mehta Madam, and Dr. Ravi Ramakantan sir for their as advisors and constantly guiding us and giving us advice. Dr. Padmaja Samant Madam for all her efforts for this Foundation Day Oration. And for technical support, I thank Shri Badal Patil, Tushar Kotwal, and Suhas Maitre, who maintains our YouTube channel. Deepika Bhalekar from GA Nostalgia, who always helps us with invites and all other help she provides. I thank her for that. And thank you, students, Shubham and all other students, Soumya, Avanti, Swadeep, Gauri, all of them for their efforts. Shubham was here initially, you introduced. Yeah, he's there. You can see him. Thanks, Shubham. And I thank the audience and all those who have joined here today online on YouTube as well as Zoom link for being here with us today in this oration. Thank you.